That's Mike.
And that's true.
And this is Seth from Backyard Trail Builds.
Hello.
Thanks for joining us today, Seth.
Yeah, hey, Seth.
Yeah. Thank you.
So, welcome, Backyard Trail Builds, to the podcast. Seth is the up-and-comer in the mountain biking YouTube community. His videos of building mountain bike features such as a floating skinny, a flow trail, a wooden pump track, a DIY bike roller made of logs help to inspire people to get out and build. His 75 videos have over 6 million views. Check out Seth's channel every Wednesday for new content. Also, check out Spotify to listen to his music. So let's start, right? Let's get into it right away. So you started riding, you said, in high school. What was and it was an introduction to riding from a cousin?
Yeah. So my cousin had just kind of hit me up, and this is like back when you're riding a Walmart bike. So he was just kind of like, hey, you want to go ride this trail, blah, blah, blah. And it ended up being, I don't know how familiar you guys are with like the difficulty levels of mountain bike trails, but this was like a black diamond trail that he invited me to go ride, and I had a Walmart bike. So you're just like, just like going down the whole thing. Your chain's constantly coming off, but at the end of it, it was like, that was the hardest, stupidest thing I've ever done, but it was just great. I don't know why it was fun, but somehow it was still fun on a Walmart bike, and I kept going back, and yeah, that's definitely when it all was like, okay, this is pretty cool. So Walmart bike, and yes, my cousin, my great cousin.
How long did you stay on that Walmart bike, or was it like immediately that day you got off the trail and went to a bike shop?
No, I kept that bike for probably I just kept riding a Walmart bike. I'm kind of the type to where it's like I don't feel that I deserve something until I prove it to myself that I deserve it. It's like that sometimes makes things worse because I rode that terrible bike, and then you get a slightly better bike, and it's like, oh my God, mountain biking is actually fun. I forgot. Like Walmart bike just is terrible.
I think that attitude definitely comes across in your videos that I definitely want to talk about later, which is showing how you build up your skills. At what point did you feel then that you did deserve to go out and get a new bike? Or asking a different question in a different way, what was sort of your skill building process with that Walmart bike, and what was the point when you were like, all right, it's time to upgrade?
Well, that's tough to remember because I was like, man, I had to be maybe 15 at the time. So it was like year of riding, and you're like, okay, this is, I think a year of riding a Walmart bike, I think just something clicks in your head and you're like, okay, I'm still riding, so I think I can upgrade. Like now's the time. I don't know that there was ever any moment. It was just like, all right, I'm still doing it. I think I started riding like twice a week on that diamond trail, that black diamond trail, and it was like, okay, I deserve something better. Let's see if this can be more fun.
What did you upgrade to?
I got a Sugar +3 Gary Fisher. It's like some guy on Craigslist was selling it, and I just thought like that. It was just this full suspension bike, which I had not had before. And I was just like, oh, anything was going to be better than the Walmart bike. So
yeah, what was
weird name like that.
What was the feel of going from that to a full suspension bike? Do you remember what the first ride was like?
God. I mean, like anybody, even when you upgrade, it's the same feeling. You're just like, your jaw just drops. Like, oh, this, like I said, you go from like, oh, I didn't realize I was having a miserable time when I was riding, and now I'm like actually having fun. You get reminded that it's actually enjoyable. Like even that crappy, like the Gary Fisher wasn't even that great of a bike because it was so old, but it's still just going from the Walmart bike to that. It was like, wow, this is like a cloud, man. This is insane. But yeah.
Did all your skills just instantly increase? Like you just felt so much better as a rider from that? I'm sure, right?
I doubt it. I'd like to say, oh yeah, I was so much better, but probably not. Actually no. I can remember like falling in love with the feeling of like, wow, I'm just floating. But then I was like, oh, this is a totally different feeling. I better dial it back. This could be bad. I'm overly precautious about stuff like that. If something feels slightly foreign to me, I just retract and like have to slowly work into it, make sure that I'm against any injuries. I'm very, very precautious in that sense.
I definitely relate with you on that one. Yeah. But
Yeah.
it seems like you do model that incremental progression a lot in your channel. How did you get into that with wood building? That's where I go to next, wondering where you were able to start building that skill, because that has coordinated a lot with your bike riding and your YouTube channel.
Yeah, so like most things, I'm not a college guy. I don't like much learning from other people when I'm forced to. So I did fine in school, but like any woodworking skill that I have, any trail building skill, any kind of skills that I have that I actually enjoy, they were all self-taught. So like everything had to go in increments. There was no big jumps because I wouldn't know how to do the big jumps. So I had to always start with like mega basics and just build, or else, yeah, it would just turn out like crap. So all the woodworking came from just like, hey, I want to make a table. Let's look at what goes into making a table. But then you always run into that wall where you start to learn something and you're like going into it, you're like, yeah, I can do this stuff, I can do stuff, and all of a sudden the door opens up and you're like, oh no, this is so much stuff that I didn't realize I had to learn to do any of this. So you're constantly getting set back, like, oh geez, I know absolutely nothing. Like woodworking, I would consider I'm like the most novice on. I don't consider myself a woodworker at all. There's just so many good woodworkers out there. And yeah. Anyway.
I think I would probably be even lower on the totem pole than you for sure. I have next to zero experience with it. But what I admire in watching your videos and your tutorials and your how-to on the woodworking is that it is very accessible to somebody like me. I understand a lot of what you're doing. I don't have much experience with it, but I understand it. And I also think it's cool how I liked how you would go pick out a dead tree in the woods and say, I'm going to use that one. And then that one, you show the breaking down process from starting from it standing to chopping off all the branches and sanding it down. And it's really cool. It's from a very beginner's perspective. It's very cool to watch you do that.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I try to, on those ones specific. So I want to do more of that where you're like just starting from complete scratch with just hand tools and things like that. But sometimes those videos, the incentive isn't there to keep going in that direction because a lot of people aren't like you where they're willing to like watch that whole process of like cutting it down, trimming the bark off, like getting every little thing like nice and pretty. But yeah, it's nice when those videos always get very, very positive feedback. So that's enjoyable whenever I make one like that.
And it's got to be, I mean, you got to find I would imagine over the past 3 years almost exactly for you, you've found that middle ground of what you can show and how much you can show on the channel where the interest is peaked or what's pulling your interest away. When do they stop watching and how long was too long? So I mean, honestly, for me as well, it's mesmerizing to watch something like that happen. It's easy to put on in the background or to watch fully and engaged, and you can be in it to win it for it. I like the woodworking, but that might just be us. We'll see. Seems like your audience likes it too, right?
Yeah. No, I think everybody likes it. I like the ones where it's starting from scratch, where I can actually just get the wood from out in the woods. But I don't know if you guys saw the pump track videos, but like that was all store-bought lumber, and it was just like I was in a tiny room because it was winter, and you're just inhaling that pressure-treated wood. It was just, I hate to say it, but that was like a miserable experience. I felt like I was just working in a shop at that point, like cutting these same shapes, setting them out. That's why I never even finished it because it was just like the cost of all the wood. That was woodwork. I feel like that's what woodworkers end up getting stuck doing is like that tedious process of things like that. And it's like, man, I know all of us want to just go out in the woods, chop down a tree, like finally caress it and do every little but yeah, that's just a long process if you want to do it that way. But I'm glad some people enjoy watching.
Have you thought of getting a mill? And milling some lumber on the property, you know, like trying to make your own dimensional lumber.
Yeah, but our cedar wood here, our cedar trees here aren't, they're not big enough really. They're kind of, actually, I think technically they might be considered invasive to Missouri, even though they're everywhere. I'm not sure though, but they're not very large, at least not on my property. They're not large enough to warrant getting a sawmill. I could probably do oak trees, but I don't know. I've got a very I just feel bad sometimes cutting down like a tree that's doing fine.
Right.
So I'd have a problem if I started just cutting down a bunch of wood just so I could make these stupid like mountain bike features. I'd feel a little bad, but not that buying it from somebody else is any different or better, but yeah, makes me feel better.
I liked that in one video too. You even said that it's okay to anchor one screw or one nail into the tree if it's alive, but you don't want to do any more than that. I think you were building.
Yeah. That's one of those things that I just read. I got obsessed with it because I was like, I don't want to kill these trees. I'd like to use them, but I read like a bunch of like arborist forums where they were arguing back and forth, and I came down to like, I think you can do 2 at most. If you do any more than that, then it's like you're gonna kill it. So don't. I don't know.
That stuck with me too. That was something that stuck out of the video. But it seems like a lot of people do like watching you do that, like break it down from start to finish too. I'm thinking that your most popular video is the DIY bike rollers with logs. And if I recall correctly, those logs are coming from your backyard from a dead cedar tree, right?
Yeah, that one's 100% that. And then that one's a little bit of both because it was either bought from a sawmill, so it was all rough cut, or it was that one that the logs that I used was from one here. And then, I bought hardware from like a local store for the roller part. But yeah, that one did super well. That's one of those times where you're like, what? That's the one that did well? Like, it was such an easy edit because it was just it was like editing 2 music videos because I just used like someone else's song for the first half and then I used one of my songs for the second half. And it's so nice to get to you just edit to a full length of a song where it's like, this is nice. I don't have to talk. I don't have to come up with dialogue. And then that's the one that, I need to do more like that because clearly that's what people enjoy.
Resonates with the audience. Well, that's
I guess.
Yeah, man. We'll see. I mean, do some more, and then you can always do some testing with your audience, see what works, and always cater to what it is. But I think you still want to follow the passion where you're at. And so, I think what we heard or read, what I found was you took a trip to Colorado, and at that point, after that trip where you saw. I think it's the same thing with like people who go skiing in Colorado for the first time. They see what trails are, what the whole process is. And you said, I need to bring some of this back to Missouri. And was that the inspiration to get to YouTube, or how did you go to Colorado and then you're like, I'm gonna start a YouTube channel?
So less like I'm gonna do something good. It was more like, dang, I suck and I can't ride any of this stuff. I'd like to ride it someday. So it was like I was extremely motivated to be a better biker, but I had nothing in Missouri to progress. So I just started building stuff in my own backyard so that I could be better, so that whenever I went to places like Colorado or Bentonville, I could actually ride stuff, because I imagine a lot of people can relate to that too, where you're just in these smaller towns that don't have anything like that. And it's like,
I think we lost you there for a second, Seth.
You travel? Hello?
I think you're back now.
There we go.
There we go.
Where did we get cut off at? Can you hear me?
I can hear you, yeah. I think you cut off at, some people from small towns don't have access to certain items. Like
Yeah. But that's the gist. I tend to ramble, but yeah, it's just that people in small towns don't have access to progressive parks. So I had to make one. I had to make one in my backyard. Had like it's a chore, but
Well,
yeah, that's
no,
why
yeah.
the YouTube channel started because that was your other question. That was just me. I think I naturally have a business sense in my head, and I saw that no one was doing trail building on YouTube yet. At the time, there was literally nothing, and it was like, well, because I was looking for it, because I was wanting to build stuff. Like, well, let me do my thing where I try and research a bunch of stuff on trail building, and there wasn't anything. I mean, not on YouTube anyway. There was like some books here and there that you could read, like from IMBA or whatever, but yeah, I saw that empty space and it was like, I bet people would watch this. I'm looking for it. Surely other people are looking for this. I'm just going to do it. I don't know how to do it, but I'm just going to start putting them out there and see what happens. And like you said, I mean, that was when I initially started, that was 3 years ago. I wasn't consistent until like a year and a half later, but yeah, I mean, that was when it technically started, was that far ago. That's a long time.
Yeah.
Almost exactly 1 year we looked it up. I think, Drew, you said it was what, June 11th,
I think so.
2017.
Yeah, almost exactly
So
3 years.
happy third year.
Oh,
Yeah.
really? That's 3. Dang. That's all. Yeah. That's fun. Huh.
Yeah, I admire how your attitude is coming back from Colorado, not, oh, well, there's nothing around me, so I'm just going to give up on that hobby. That's not something I'm going to do. The attitude is, oh, I see a problem here. I see a lack of representation for this sport around me and on YouTube. I'm going to be the solution. I think that's pretty admirable. I think that's very cool. And that's sort of what we're going for with pointing out people, creators, people that are passionate about things like that through this podcast.
Yeah, that was definitely the motivation. There was just nothing there, and just wanted to fill it up. I think anybody who would have I think I just happened to time, and anybody else could have done the exact same thing. I don't know that. Yeah, it's anything too crazy.
Yeah. So when did the YouTube channel start gaining speed for you? Was it when you started being more consistent with it? Or was it more like there was one video that really got hold and that sort of blasted it off for you? What was your experience?
So consistency paired with Reddit. I got obsessed with because whenever you first start, it's so hard to get people to just find you or notice you. Mm-hmm. And I got obsessed with Reddit, so it was like, man, sometimes I can see that sometimes they'll just take off, but most of the time they won't. So I did a thing where I'd on every hour of every day, I would check to see how many people were online. And I did that for a full week, and I found the exact time. It was like Sunday at 8:00 in the morning. So every week I'd post my video on there at that time, and almost every week it would blow up on Reddit anyway. So that was
interesting.
That started to click it. Yeah, that started to get it. You got to find stuff like that too, where you're just if you really want to do it, you got to be thinking really deep. You got to be like a rat, kind of go anywhere that you can go. But that's what did it, I think, for the most part, because from there, Brian from BKXC found my video on Reddit and he shared it. And then I'd say anybody's going to say too is when Seth from Seth's Bike Hack shared one of my videos. And that came from me I don't want to put him on blast, but that came from me just reaching out to him. He's just such a approachable guy. He just emailed me back oh, you're doing great. This is awesome. I'm just going to share this. You're doing fantastic. And yeah, he pretty much got me boom, gave me the big bump, and then everybody started noticing. So yeah.
And that was the skinny jeans video, right?
Yes. Yeah. I think that's the one that I shared with them. Yeah. I was doing yoga, and I had thought about it for a long time. I was I need to just email him. Just email the guy. And I just kept putting it off for months. He's not going to say anything. Why would he say anything? That's a stupid idea. And one day I did yoga, and I was you know what? life's all right. Like, just email him. What the hell does it matter? Just do it. And then it was like immediate. It was like probably 30 minutes later, I got an email back like, hey man, you're doing a great job. Like, I'm going to share your video. It's like, holy crap. I need to do yoga more often. Just changed my life.
I support that conclusion completely, absolutely. But that's really cool. That's sort of mirroring our experience too, with just reaching out and aiming for that collaboration with other YouTubers. That's been something I've been very surprised about, is the environment of collaboration and the openness to collaboration that people have shown us so far. That's really cool.
Yeah, everybody is just super nice. Like, you're like, oh, you forget that they're just humans. Like, if you're not in the YouTube like realm and you just watch it, for some reason there's this crazy separation. And then as soon as you start doing it, you're like, oh, I forgot. Yeah, they're all just people, and maybe everyone shouldn't do so many negative comments.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think it's a great example of how you can use media like this to lift each other up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's
use a little positivity right now.
Yeah,
That's just,
absolutely.
yeah, well, I don't know. YouTube right now, I get such polarized opinions on the videos, because I imagine there's a lot of people who are just like, I'm so sick of being inside, and this son of a, like, he's out there, he's got all this land, he's building these features, he gets to ride, like, screw this guy, I'm gonna like da, da, da. It's like, I
take
get
off
it,
my
like,
frustration here on this internet.
yeah. But then there's the total opposite too, where they're just like super, super, super positive and loving and nice, and it's so hard to, because sometimes you're like, I'm just not going to read the comments this time. Like, there's too many, those mean ones hit too hard, but then sometimes you read those like really, really positive ones. It's like, oh, that's so nice. It's so nice.
So I want to go back to that specific video that you mentioned that was shared and sort of really hit big with you, which was the skinny jeans video, I believe. For our listeners that might not have seen that feature or that video, how would you describe what the skinny jeans is? Skinny jeans being spelled Genes, right?
The skinny,
yeah.
Yeah. So skinny jean is essentially a skinny is a thin piece of wood or whatever that you're trying to ride on or balance on. Just as thin as you can go, the more skinny, the better, whatever. And the skinny jean is where, like, your picture a gene, like a human gene, where it kind of intertwines, like, I don't know what else that's like. It's like a gene.
Yeah,
you
it's
know,
like
DNA,
like the
a DNA
helix
strand.
shape, right?
Yeah. So one tire is going on one track, and then your back tire would be going on a different track. So you're trying to like make these you're turning extra hard so that things have to go on a different. It's really hard to explain. I've never had to actually explain it. It's a strange.
When I first saw it on the video, my mind went to thinking about when I would ride my bike through a puddle, and then immediately after the puddle, I would start doing back and forth turns or C-turns or something. And if you look back, you can see two different tire tracks because the front wheel and the back wheel are going to be going in different places. And that's how I was like, oh, I get that. I get what the idea behind that feature was, and it was like really cool. Yeah.
Now that's a great way to explain it. Like, it's just that, and then you go back over those tracks and make it where you have to go on those exact tracks. And oddly enough, that's like one of the easiest skinnies I have out here. It's because it works.
No way.
Like, it just flows so well. Yeah, it's super, super easy. Most people get it within like 10 tries. Like, it's not hard at all, especially because you're turning so hard that you kind of get set up in a track stand where like it kind of just holds your like bike in a perfect balancing position. So it's oddly easy, but it's super fun. I think most bike parks should have that for beginners because it's such a easy, and you feel so like you get done with it, you're like, whoa, how did that work? That's awesome. It feels so crazy. It's just a crazy feature. I like that one.
And let's think. I want to talk a little bit more about this. So, how do you get your creative process? Like, where do you come up? That to me, I could never see that as a feature. But where do you come up with the ideas for the features? And then, let's just leave it there right now.
Well, that one I stole 100%.
Oh wow!
So a lot of them, like, I'll just scour the internet for like hours, just looking and looking. And most of the time, I'm not like taking a direct, like on that one, there was one image on the internet that I had seen like years ago. That one I had been wanting to build for a while. That was before I might have been like 14 when I saw the image, but it was just like it was one little bitty thing like that. So it was essentially one turned log, and then there was just one that followed. So it was just like one small version of that. And I was like, I would love to do that, but I'd love to do that just a lot, like a big long one. And yeah, that's where that one came from. But most of the time, my coming up with stuff is just me scouring and looking for things that might spark my imagination a little further, or you're buildings off. I mean, I'm normally building off of something essentially. I would never. Yeah, I think most people are building off of something if they're truly honest.
Yeah. I think they've kind of proven that too in the music section. Is like there's no, almost everything in music has been done from a creative standpoint. You're just reiterating something else, even though you're extremely creative. But it's
but
you can
this
so many notes
exactly
together
like,
so many times.
Right. Yeah, and that especially, you get like the same chord progressions in the top 100 pop songs for the year or whatever. They're always disappointing.
So no, I'm surprised that you said the skinny jeans was so easy, but I'm curious if you would say the same thing about the floating skinny. And my guess is probably definitely not, because that looks absolutely terrifying to me.
God, no. It's awful. The thing is so bad. Like, I don't know if you guys had seen when BKXC came over, Brian, but it was like, there was no doubt in my mind. I was like, not gonna ride it with him. Like, normally it'd be like, you've got this big YouTuber coming over, like you got to ride everything with him, right? Like, have fun. It's like, I'm not riding that. It was just, I spent, I think 3 or 4 days just nonstop trying to get across that thing, and it's just so unpredictable. Like, there's just nothing about it. And as soon as like Brian got to his 90-foot mark, he was like, that's good for me. Like, I don't feel like crushing my face. Like,
yeah, because it seems like every wipeout you're going over the handlebars.
Oh my gosh, every time. It's so it's ridiculous. And I can't wait. He's got his video on it coming out. He had so many just gorgeous wrecks. Like, Brian's like a rocket, like a dude in a rocket ship hitting the eject button. Just like, he just jumps off of his bike, like up in the air like that every time. He's going to have a great video on doing that. But yeah, it's but that's, you kind of have to do that, or else you end up hitting your face on a log or the barrels or whatever.
Yeah, you had quite a wipeout where you kind of came face flat down on the piece of wood.
Yeah, it's just ruthless, man. But to be honest, it didn't, like, that one didn't hurt that bad. What hurt the most was around my genitalia, but my face was totally fine. Like, everything has just that little bit of give to it, where it's not, I guess it's probably like a wrestling mat or something, where it just has just enough give where it doesn't hurt too bad. But it looks terrible. The wrecks look just great on video. I do love it for that.
Oh, they're gnarly, yeah.
Yeah,
that's what people are looking for on YouTube. I'm sure they love watching that. It's extremely entertaining. I don't think I would be able to make it 4 feet, and that would be, I don't know how long a bike is. I'm assuming the bike is 4.
Yeah, well, you'd be surprised. Like, you have to cut. So many people you wreck so much, you have to cut out all these wrecks, and most of the wrecks are within that first 10 feet. Because you're like just trying to get on it and you slip off, or you like get sketched out, or that's where you don't want to fall off too, because there's actually ground.
And so you live on about 60 acres, and do you have is part of the process, like, are you looking at like a full version of what you'd like to build, or is it like, hey, I'm gonna build this trail this week, and then maybe we'll build a longer version or extend onto it, or is there a trail map in your head?
There's definitely a trail map in my head, but as far as like what I'm building, not until recently. Like, I just started that I just started that video series where I'm letting the viewers decide on what I build, and not until that series did I like plan ahead. Like, I know where I want the trail to go. I kind of want it to go in these directions. But before that, it was just each week, like, what feature do I want to make? And then I decide where I wanted to put it. And it was a little more chaotic. But now I'm, starting
And
to
you're
get a
just bouncing between all the trails. Like, oh, okay, hey, I'd like to add another jump on this trail, or I'd like to add a wood feature over here, and you're just kind of bouncing between all the trails.
Yeah, that's what I was doing. I don't like that I do that or that I did that. It's just, it kind of takes away the, I don't know, the story element that you can have between each video. I like now that I've got like this thing that people can look forward to next time, as opposed to like, what's he building this time? Where the hell's he even at? Like, what's going on?
Yeah, and you've gone the extra step of getting your subscribers and your viewers involved in the process, which is pretty neat. I was curious, where was the inspiration for that idea? I know you mentioned some children's novels, like some young adult novels, choose your own adventure novels. Was that it?
I don't know. I might have stolen it. I might have. It may have been from that. It popped up in my head. And I thought, like, yeah, that's a great idea. I don't know why I haven't done that yet. And I guess technically in my head, as far as I know, it just popped up in my head randomly. I've heard like people describe ideas like there's just this big cloud of ideas, and sometimes they like pop into your head, and you're like, oh, okay, I'll take that one. That's great. That sounds wonderful.
And how's your response been? How's the subscriber and viewer response been?
By far the best I've ever, like, it's doubled on those videos. I get double the amount of subscribers, like, and I think that's mainly because in the thumbnail it says subscribers decide what I build, and that's like, oh, okay, I'll subscribe and then I'll decide. But yeah, those are doing fantastically. I could not be more happy with those.
And how important is involving the community as a creator, right? We've talked a little bit about comments. Are you responding to comments? Are you trying to interact with your community as much as possible? And how important are they to you?
Yes. I mean, I think the first day I'm trying to respond as much as I can while I have time. After the first day, I pretty much just let go of it, because that's when the first day you're getting the people who actually want to be there, like to see your stuff, and they want to watch again. They're generally pretty positive. But after that, that's when you start to get the negative comments just hit too hard for me. I'm very, very self-critical already, and if I get any sort of outsourced negative feedback, it's like, oh no, even though it's like you can look at their profile, it's like, you're a 6-year-old, but for some reason you just ruined my whole week. It's tough. You have to have tough skin for that. But yes, the community is like, I mean, it's all of it, really. Like, there's a lot of ideas that I take from them. You just have to read the comments. There's no way around it, because there's just, even some of the bad feedback is useful. You have to take it all in, and then like, it's tough because you got to take it in and like, okay, they gave me this big long list of things I'm doing terribly. It's like, what actually is possibly bad that I'm doing? And then, yeah, I've gained a lot from negative comments, but I've also gained a lot from the positive ones that just keep you going. The positive ones keep you going and keep you motivated, and the negative ones progress you and get you better. So communities.
What is an example of a negative comment that has really stuck with you and made a positive change? What's a negative comment that hit you as negative but actually turned out to be quite constructive in your YouTube channel?
I would say, like, way early, there was this guy who wrote like 2 paragraphs about how I didn't have story. Like, there was no story to follow. This is stupid. Like, but he was like extra, like, like a total D-bag about it. And it was like, everybody like jumped on him and gave him a hard time. And he was just like, what? I'm just speaking the truth and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, well, maybe he is. Like, if he's got that legitimate opinion, let me just look at it. And I was like, yeah, I guess I don't really. That was when I was like, I just have a song and I'd edit trail building to it, and that was
Mhm.
it. There was no there was no reason to really come back. There was no.
Right.
I didn't talk much. I didn't have my face on there. It was great for editing because I could get them done within like 3 hours, which now it takes me like 2 or 3 days. But yeah, stuff like that is like those long ones. You got to look for the long negative comments. Those generally there's some gold bits in there that you can take away from.
All right, that's very useful advice.
But it makes sense if they're willing to put that much
exactly.
that much up there. They've got something to say and they want you to hear it. So
right, yeah,
or they could just be touting some nonsense.
Oh yeah, that too.
But it seems like you took that advice to heart, and you do definitely have some story, especially in this Choose Your Own Trail series. It's very cool.
Yeah. And I take them all to heart is the problem, and I have to like talk it out with my girlfriend. Like, am I doing this wrong? Is this really it? Like, tell me the truth. Like, and sometimes I'll even bicker with like, you're not telling me the truth either, are you? I am ugly, right? This guy says I'm ugly.
It shows you care. It shows you care about what you're doing.
But I can see story in other places on your channel as well. You know, you can see it on the pump track, and I think each one of the sections of your trail has character to it, and even though maybe you see it as just jumping around, you're creating a larger story, which is the trail system in your backyard, and you can see each piece get it. It might not be in a storybook way, but not the chapters are all there.
Yeah. I think I just mainly worry that it's not like it's all there in my head. I know where every single feature is. I know where the trails line up, and the main thing I get worried about is like, do they know where everything is? Do they see the map? Does it make sense to them? Or are they thinking that I'm just like slapping stuff around because I can, or like, and I don't want it to come off that way, that I'm just like tossing stuff out there willy-nilly,
But I think it's something no matter what, it's very difficult to visualize through this medium, like you're seeing a trail system, even with a map, is very difficult to navigate from any standpoint. And from a like kind of POV standpoint, or just a camera on a wall or on a tree or on a tripod, it's even more difficult to see because there's no context for them. So I think from the standpoint that you have, you've got the same background, you're showing the same trails at so many different angles, you really can get to know the trails, and you're not overwhelming the community with, hey, I'm going to start a brand new trail and only do 2 features, and then go over here, go over here, go over here. You really are staying true to the trails that you have on there.
Yeah. I mean, technically, I've only had 3 trails until I started this new one. So I've got 4 trails out of however many videos I have now. So you're right. I'm doing great.
You are. 75 videos and 3 trails. It's pretty there.
Before we leave the idea of story, I was going to say too, I really appreciate the different writing skill videos that you put up and sort of show your own personal story from going from beginning that skill to nailing it down. And it's something like the Indo 180 that would be terrifying for me to do just right off the bat, but you show it incrementally like that and show that, you don't just get it after a couple tries. It sometimes takes 6 hours of dedicated time just to that, spent over 2-3 days.
Oh yeah. And that was, I don't know how many days that one took, but yeah, I want to do more of those style videos, but learning a new skill like that where you don't know how to do it at all is so hard to like. It's like, can I get this done by next week? It's too much to bet on. Like, and then yeah, it's a tough one to do. And then like I was very close to doing like a manual one, but I just didn't nail it that week, and then I ended up not being able to put out that video, and I had to just. Yeah, I've got a lot like that. I probably got like 6 videos that I never got to finish because something ends up like interrupting them or I can't do it. Like, yeah, there's a lot like that.
Well, Drew and I were talking before this that we really do enjoy watching that style, because from our side, where we're not mountain bikers at all, it shows the progress and the dedication that you have to do to get to that. And you're showing the progressions that here there's like 5 checkpoints I got to get to make this happen. And I can see myself if I ever started riding, okay, I'm at this point. I've got, maybe I've got 5 more days and 6 more hours to go, but I know that there's an end result, and I know that if I follow these steps, I can get there. So.
Right. Yeah. On that video specifically, the Indo 180 one, some guy had commented like, I watched this video and I went out thinking, for some reason I was like tricked in my brain that I knew how to do it now because I just watched you do it for the 6 hours. It's like that didn't happen. I don't know how to do it. It's like.
So in your terms, did you land the Endo 180 or not? You kind of left it open there.
On the spot.
Great question. Oh, I mean, no, that's why I'm not, no, I guess not. If I told people, I'd be like, yeah, I could Indo 180. I could do it, but I wouldn't be like, I don't know. That's why I left it up to people, because I really, I don't know. I still like.
What did the community say?
I think most of them said like, yeah, it's essentially like if you get turned around on the bike, you're fine. Like that's an Indo 180. But then of course you get the other people who are like, hell no, that was not an Indo 180. You are a dummy. Like,
yeah. Sorry, you did 165 degrees. Like
literally people are like, that's like more like 160, bro. Come on. Or you get the other people who are like, that's not an Indo 180. You have to also turn out completely, like another 180 to do the full. It gets too technical on the terms of all that.
But I think like that's one of those things though is there's no protractor. You can't really tell where you exactly started. You can't really tell exactly where you ended, and it's coming from a single camera angle that's 20 feet away. So really, you could have done over it. It's tough to really tell.
My whole thing is like, come on, like, do you really care? Like, do we really care? Like, I got turned around. I'm doing the trick that I set out to do. Like, I mainly just wanted to be able to turn around on my bike like that because it looks kind of cool. Yeah, and I think it looks. So it's like, come on, like, let's not lay out the giant protractor because I don't want to buy that tool. That's a silly tool to have.
Well, maybe you could just spray paint a straight line down the down the yard next time, and then you have a T, something to show.
Yeah, but then you get the people who are like, come on, that's not a straight line. You're a liar.
Yeah. No, I will tell you from my perspective, you did it, and you did it great. Because
yeah, I'm a yes vote there too.
I would be scared because I'm going over the handlebars.
Dude, it's oddly, man, when you get that much time spent like just getting up onto the nose of the bike, it weirdly is like, oh, like you get so comfortable just kind of sitting up there like, hey, this is kind of cool just hanging out here. But I was the same way where it was like I did not want to get my back end up at all ever. Like as soon as that happened, you're just like, oh no, I'm going over. But yeah, that's a good skill to have, just getting up on the nose so you feel very comfortable in that like body stance.
No, I'm sure, and I'm sure it comes into play just having that skill set when you're riding. It'll really increase your riding capabilities.
Yeah, it does.
One thing I want to talk about is I think it's really interesting how you put a little bit of a safety net in when you build some features, right? I believe it was one of the wood berm that you come out of, and then there was a gap ramp. I don't know what you call it, but you put a piece of wood on top of it for the first couple of tries that you did, and then you removed the wood to then make the full gap. I think that's really smart. Why? Well, I think we talked about this earlier that you don't want to hurt yourself. I can definitely stand behind that. But like, is it just to build your confidence, or can you go down a line? You can probably go down a line and just hit a gap, no problem. You just want it for the comfort level.
No. So I mean, like, it goes back to the whole reason that I started is I never had everything that I'm building. I've never ridden anything like it before.
That's so cool.
So I've never built it before, and I've never ridden it. So I'm building off of just what's going on in my head or images on the internet. And then I'm like, well, I don't know if this works properly, and I also don't know how to ride it properly. So I'm going to put something up. like just in case I either suck at riding this or I sucked at building it. You need something there. I'm not just gonna go
Right.
like balls out and hope that everything's good, because then
Right.
and then I also don't have health insurance at the moment, so it's like this would be bad on all accounts. I wouldn't be able to do my job. I wouldn't be able to ride. Like, yeah, it'd just be terrible. I'm not a big fan of pain either. I don't know why. There's so many people that are just like, you gotta break some bones to progress in mountain biking. It's like, what are you talking about? Just slow down a little bit. Like, I don't care if it takes me a little bit to learn these skills. I'm not in a rush. It's all right.
No, I think it's a great example to kids too, right? I feel like they look at so many other channels, and not necessarily in the mountain biking community, but all over, where it's these professional riders who are just going full bore down something, right? And they're hitting a huge gap, and these kids are like, that guy did it, I can totally do it. But here you're saying you don't have to go all the way. You can take your time. And by the way, if you do it smart, you're not only going to be a better rider, but you're going to be a safer rider. And I think that's an awesome message you're putting out there.
Yeah, you don't spend time sitting in your house for 2 months waiting to recover all the time. That's another thing too.
Yeah.
I mean, I get it. Like, for the professionals, like, they're professionals, they have to push the limits all the time. That's their job. Like, but they're breaking bones all the time. If you follow them on Instagram or wherever, it's like, God, that I have no envy of that. Like, I don't want to do that. I'm lucky enough to be able to like build a feature that's slightly out of my level, conquer it at my own pace. I don't have people around me. Like, I'm so fortunate in that sense, because I get that probably, like, if you go to a bike park, there's probably peer pressure out the butt to do like this jump that's way out of your league, and you've got your buddies who are only slightly able to do it, and they just tow you in, and I don't know where that pressure comes from to do things that are obviously out of your skill level just to do them. But
Yeah.
I think it just goes down to that peer pressure thing, and you're setting a great example from even the standpoint of, like, you can say no if you're not comfortable with doing that. If you're not ready to do it, you can practice a little bit more and then go out and be ready and safer and better.
Yeah, heck, I mean, when I did a build with Seth's Bike Hacks, and like, we built a feature there, and I didn't ride it. Like, that was on the biggest, as far as I know, one of the bigger mountain bike channels you could do that on. I think I'm the first person to like turn Seth down. Like, nope, I'm not doing it. Like,
that was the skinny jump over the log, right?
Yeah, it's like, I'm not doing that. Like, I'll build it with you. It's a great idea. It looks awesome, but no, I'm not. Not gonna do that.
So I noticed your shirt in the interview, right? He's wearing a single track sampler shirt.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
He's
a fantastic rider. Like, you watch him, he's got great skills. He was even having a little trouble riding.
Yes, I just watched that video. It's like it had something in my body. It was like, yes, that was the one that he was scared of most. All right, I get a little bit of a pass card on that. If he's scared of it, like, he blew past all these other options. Not that I would ride the other stuff that he rode, but like, the fact that he thought that was the scariest was like, nice. All right.
That verifies it. And everything on camera looks so easy and so small, but that's not. It's not at all easy or small.
All of the stuff at Seth's house looks insane. I can tell you that first. You get there and you're like, oh my God, this guy is nuts. He's totally nuts. It's hilarious, because he's literally doing like he does it by trail, but he's literally just building. I think his motto, he just like, what's the craziest thing I can build? And then, like, when we were doing that skinny jump over the log, we were initially just going to build like this crazy skinny, but he was like, how can we twist this? How can we make this thing more insane? And we were looking at that tree, and he's like, we could jump over this.
Oh man.
It's like, oh man, come on. I was like, maybe we could do like, we could do like a skinny over it. Like, that would be cool. And he's like, no, we got to jump over. It's like, okay, well, I guess I'm not doing it then.
But he has the opt-out line, so.
Yeah. And then you also did a pretty cool skinny. It was like a skinny transfer. You had a name related to like a mining. It reminded me of a mining transfer. I forget what you called it, but that was working with
Yeah.
Brian from BKXC, right?
Yeah. I put in the thumbnail, I think I called it a severed skinny.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
like a severed.
that was
That was
awesome. But that's like one of those things where I built it super low to the ground, so I did that so many times. It took me like 2 days of just trying it and trying. I think I might have done it over 100 times before I got it. It was miserable with how hot it was out those
Oh
days.
gosh, yeah.
When I landed that thing, it was just like, oh my God. But of course, I don't know if you watched it or you remember, but like the camera blurs out whenever I finally got it. And it was like, you mother, oh, now I got it's like, I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to land it again. And luckily, like 2 tries later, I got it again. It was like, oh, thank God. I was so done once I landed that thing. But yeah, again, low to the ground, nice and easy.
And we've been talking now about a couple collaborations you've done with other YouTubers, and you've done some other collaborations too. And in one video, you traveled to go actually build a bike trail for, it looked like a family in their own private backyard. Is that correct?
Yeah. Gosh, at this gorgeous house. It was insane. Like,
And you got to build with somebody that worked for, was it the Red Bull event?
So he joined us, and that guy built at Red Bull Rampage a little bit, but he was just the guy's friend that I went to build with.
Oh, okay.
But actually, what's funny is you bring that up is I'm actually leaving Sunday to go to Georgia to do another build with him in another person's backyard, which is going to be absolutely insane. So that's exciting.
Yeah, that's really exciting, especially going from the experience of, well, I've just seen these trails on the internet and I've never built them before, I've never ridden them before, I'm going to start doing it, to now getting hired to go do that privately. It's very cool.
That's the most overwhelming thing, is like when I first put up like a little form people could fill out, like, hey, if you want to hire me. When I did that California video, I got so many like emails. It was like, oh no, I'm in over my head. Like I had to tell people, it's like I had to backtrack. It's like, I don't know how to build trail as well as I thought I did. Like, you're not gonna pay me to do this. There's no way. I can't have people do that. Like I've never worked with an actual trail crew. Like, I don't know. I don't feel comfortable charging people for something like that. But to go work with a guy like Kevin, who I did work with in California, that's great. And I can't wait to do that again here in the next week.
So will that be your second trail like that you've built? Or have you done more than that?
Think. So I went to a friend's house and we did some, but we haven't built. Yeah, I guess that will be the second time we'll go do that. And I'm pretty excited about this one because it's going to be like probably 5 times like larger as far as the scale of features than that California one. And
so do they approach you with features that they want specifically and they say, this is what we want? Or do they more give you artistic creativity on, say, like, this is the space we have, do what you want to do?
Yeah, essentially it's like, hey, on the forum I'll put like, do you want a cross country trail, a BMX kind of flowy bike trail? Do you want a pump track? There's certain specific kind of trails you can ask for.
Okay.
And then from there, you kind of send like a layout, like send some pictures of the land or whatever, and then we'll come out, look at it, and then we'll design something out of our heads, and then you kind of give it the okay or not, and then we go and build it.
That's cool.
It's super cool.
Something that you might run into, and something that you mentioned in your most recent uploaded video, was what makes quality dirt, and how are you going to deal with the different types of dirt as you travel across the country?
So, dude, like when you do a job like that, if they don't have dirt, you just have a dump truck load dropped off, or several of them normally. That's what a lot of the pro builders do if that's what they're dealing with. But most of the time, you can dig like a hole in the ground if it's relatively good, just for filler, and then you'll do like a top layer over to make it look nice on top. But yeah, you normally just get it shipped in.
All right.
And then you know what you're working with because there's kind of like a surveyor. You can give, I guess there's a dirt merchant that you purchase all the stuff from, and he knows what the consistency and what grade you're looking for and stuff like that.
What are you buying? Yeah, there's those guys. I'll sell you the good stuff. You guys get that reference from Resident Evil?
Oh
Did
yeah.
you play that game?
Yeah.
Okay.
I did not personally, no.
Okay.
Drew, I don't think Drew played any shooting or anything games
I
like
was
that.
I was on the Crash Bandicoot level growing up. That was my.
Well, we played those too, but you gotta play everything.
So just one thing about your trail building. So everything that you do is self-taught, trial and error, just kind of research on the internet and come back. Because I mean that to me is unbelievably surprising, because when I see you build, it looks like you're a professional builder going into it. You really have the fortitude and understanding to go, like, when you're choosing the angles of departure and landing, that's just out of your head, or is it out of, like, I know I got to get this far, so I've got to kind of figure it out. How do you come up with those kind of items?
Well, it's so, like, since I've been doing it long enough now, like, when you start small, like I didn't have the bike skills, so I had to start small. You can slowly get the feel for, like, how far things are. If you start with just a foot drop, you don't have to build the landing. You can just go off of it, and you start to get a sense for your speed, where you'll come off, and then the same principles will apply to, okay, now it's 3 feet. Like, you could probably multiply how far I'm going to go by an extra by times 2 or whatever.
Right.
So you start to get the lay of it at that point. But as far as, like, the building of the actual features, I grew up on a farm, kind of, so I've got a pretty good idea of, like, what's structurally sound and what's going to work. So that definitely comes into play on the wood features and other things. I have a good sense for, like, this isn't going to fall apart.
Right. But you can see that. I mean, even the fact that you're digging your posts in, getting that solidified, then you're kind of building up against that, makes all sense. And even I thought it was really interesting how you built kind of a frame around some of the landings, and then you filled that frame in with dirt to hold it in place. Because most people I'm seeing are just building dirt jump and then it kind of washes away. But you're creating some longevity out of that by doing that. It's really interesting.
Yeah, and that's partly because I'm lazy too, and I don't feel like digging any more dirt, and I've got good access to trees, so I'll just box it up instead of. If you do just dirt, then you have to build that kind of a frame to it where it comes out, and that's There's pros and cons to each method.
Well, I mean, even that resonates back to your first video, right? Like, the first video you put up was how to build a berm, and when you were putting it up, you were saying, you're going to need to spend about an hour, and it's just for hauling dirt, right? So I thought
that's funny.
it seems like the timeline for your dirt moving hasn't changed. You don't really want to spend that much on it, and I don't blame you. It is a long task.
And that's funny too, because in that first video, like, I had a tractor. Like, I could have moved the dirt. It was like I decided to drop it just far enough away where I had to wheelbarrow it still.
I loved when you were packing down the ramp with the golf cart too. That was
that was great. That's a wonderful thing if you can find those little hacks like that. You always feel a little guilty on camera because you're like, most people are not going to have a golf cart to do this like this, but I don't feel like packing it down by hand.
Yeah, why hold back?
I don't blame you at all.
So you're about 3 years into your YouTube channel, a little less than that consistently, and you got a lot of opportunities, opening up to you. You've recently partnered with U-Haul, you've partnered with Skillshare, you've partnered with a bike company. You have opportunities traveling and building private bike parks for people. You got your music going on. My question is, where do you see your YouTube channel taking you in the future? Obviously, it's probably taking you some unexpected places right now, but where would you like it to go ideally, and where do you see your channel going in the next year, or the next few years?
I don't know. I'd love to build more in other places. I think I was actually just talking to Kevin about this, the guy that I build with in California, and I'm going to in Georgia. But I was just saying, like, hey, man, we should, if this next video where we go to Georgia kind of takes off a little bit, then I'd love to get it to where we're doing it more often, like maybe quarterly throughout the year. Like we go to some state, or even more than that. Like I'd love to build in every state in the U.S. or something. That would be
cool.
pretty
That
freaking
would be
exciting.
really cool.
And then even further down the road, if that worked out, then go to different, like Australia, go to Europe. Like people are contacting me from all over. I had somebody from Alaska ask me to come out.
Really?
That sounds insane. Like I don't know, when do you even go? When do you build in Alaska? Where are you? Like I didn't know there was mountain biking in Alaska. Like, yeah, I'd love to be able to just kind of travel a little bit, and then I'd also love to just stay in one spot and like just build on a mountain somewhere. Like that would be nice. I'm kind of just going with the flow though. I don't know where it's gonna go. I'll be happy if it just keeps going.
Yeah, that's a great answer.
Yeah, I think the flow that you're on is has been really working for you.
Yeah, it's insane. I don't know. Yeah, if it keeps doing what it's doing, like I'll be mind blown. Right now, I'm already mind blown with like U-Haul reaching out. It was like, what? Like U-Haul is contacting me? Like why? What do you? I'm building trails in my backyard. What is U-Haul? What?
Yeah, what was that experience like being approached by them?
Insane. It's exactly what you would think it'd be. Like what? Like it was just baffling. Like I didn't know. It was cool because their marketing guy is just really into mountain biking, and they were getting it. They want to start pushing their bike rack sales.
Yeah, that was
like,
really interesting to me.
But for them to come to me, it was like, you
Yeah.
could choose a lot of people, and for some reason you're coming to me. I don't know why, but I'm so flattered. Like it's a crazy feeling. It's really you have to like check yourself and like you have to tell yourself like U-Haul is contacting you, man. This is insane. Like think about it. Like this is nuts. But yeah, I think if just staying consistent, hopefully it keeps doing the same stuff. People keep reaching out like that.
Well, I'm excited to watch that progress over the next 3 more years and more. I'm sure.
And I really like the Choose Your Own Trail series. I think that's really it's a very smart way to get your viewers involved and involved consistently with what you're doing. And it's got to be good motivation on your part to stay consistent and deliver.
Yeah, and that trail is by far the funnest so far that I've got. Like I don't take my phone over there. I just go over there, build for a day, and then I come back and then I like kind of throw the footage up. Like it's a very cleansing build over there. It's very nice to kind of it gives it more of a job sense where I pack all my tools up on my side by side. I drive over there, I start to build the feature, I come back home at night. Like it's nice. I really like it. And then having everybody be so stoked to like get involved with choosing the stuff is super fun too. Like, and coming up with 2 different options that both seem pretty viable and fun. There's a lot that's really cool with that little set. I'm glad that the idea popped up in my head.
Yeah, great idea.
And you can take that ways, right? There's so many more opportunities for that style of video. So definitely interesting to watch.
There's plenty of land over there too to just keep it going for however long people want to watch.
Cool. Well, I'm excited to see where that goes. I'm excited to see where you end up, and make sure our listeners check you out every Wednesday and listen to his music. We didn't get to talk about that, but you know what? We'll get back to that because there are some more questions that we have, and we like to keep it on the time that we want, right? The hour. So make sure you come back because we'll check in with him when he hits 500K. That's right around the corner for you.
Yeah, right there.
Maybe 250.
250. Yeah, there you go. That would be better.
There we go.
Hopefully that'll be soon.
I don't think it's out of the realm of a very short time for you. So thanks so much, Seth. We really appreciate
thank you, Seth.
your time today. It was awesome chatting with you.
A lot of fun.
Yeah, we'll toss all your social in here, and make sure you guys follow him, like him, and get involved in picking what's next on his trail.
Go vote for the new features for sure.
Oh yeah. Thanks for having me, guys.
Insight
Seth.
into our channel here. Drew and I are split decision, so I'm excited to see what happens.
Yeah, cool.